He was fired from the most powerful AI company on Earth and rehired in 5 days. A man whose influence reaches governments, corporations, and every industry touched by artificial intelligence. And whether the world is ready or not, his decisions could redefine how millions of people work, learn, and live. If perspectives like this help you understand the forces shaping modern power, stay with the channel, because Sam Altman's story begins at the exact moment technology outgrew its creators. Sam Altman is not the loudest voice in Silicon Valley, but he is one of the most influential. Born in 1985 in Chicago, he grew up fascinated by computers, not as toys, but as systems to understand. He became an entrepreneur early, stepping into the world of startups with a quiet confidence that would later define his career. Before long, he rose to lead Y Combinator, the training ground for some of the world's most transformative companies. Today, he is the CEO of OpenAI, the organization behind ChatGPT, GPT-4, GPT-5, and the wave of artificial intelligence that has reshaped global conversation. To understand the scale of his impact, we start with the moment he first realized he wasn't just building tools, he was shaping the future. Altman's path changed when he left Stanford, choosing momentum over tradition. It wasn't rebellion, it was calculation. He believed the real learning would come from building, not waiting. That belief led to Looped, a location-based social app launched years before the world was ready for constant digital presence. The idea was strong, but the timing wasn't. The company sold for far less than investors hoped. Yet this early stumble became a quiet advantage. Altman learned that failure doesn't close a career, it refines it. He discovered how markets move, how technology outruns culture, and why conviction matters more than applause. It was the kind of lesson that doesn't make headlines, but it prepared him for everything that came next. Altman's true ascent began when he stepped into the presidency of Y Combinator, a role that quietly placed him at the center of Silicon Valley's deal flow and its future. Here, he wasn't just observing innovation, he was shaping it. He mentored founders building Airbnb, Stripe, Dropbox, companies that would rewire how we travel, pay, and store the world's information. And as these startups grew into billion-dollar giants, Altman learned something more valuable than wealth: how to identify leverage before the world sees it. This was the turning point. He shifted from being a startup founder to becoming a kingmaker, the person who helped choose which ideas would define the next decade. In 2015, Altman made a move that would shift the trajectory of global technology. He co-founded OpenAI with a mission that sounded almost idealistic: to ensure artificial intelligence benefits all of humanity. But behind that mission was a deeper realization: that whoever controlled advanced AI would shape economies, politics, and culture for generations. Early support came from figures like Elon Musk, and later, Microsoft would commit more than $10 billion, creating one of the most influential partnerships in modern tech. Yet, as OpenAI transitioned from a nonprofit into a capped profit structure, the world began to question its true direction. This was the moment the story stopped being about startups and became about the future of human intelligence itself. When ChatGPT launched, it didn't spread like a product. It spread like a revelation. Within weeks, 100 million people were using it, the fastest adoption curve in software history. Programmers gained an assistant that never slept. Marketers, writers, analysts all began to rethink what it meant to work alongside an intelligence that could generate, reason, and adapt. For the first time, everyday users felt the ground shift beneath them. The gap between human ability and machine capability narrowed in real time, one prompt at a time. Governments feared losing control of information. Corporations feared being overtaken by competitors armed with new automation. And through it all, Sam Altman became the face of a transformation larger than any company: the acceleration of intelligence itself. In November 2023, the world witnessed one of the most dramatic corporate twists in modern technology. Without warning, OpenAI's board announced it had fired Sam Altman. No detailed explanation, no scandal, no roadmap for what came next. Inside the company, the reaction was immediate. Nearly every employee, the very engineers building the future of AI, threatened to resign unless Altman was restored. It was a level of loyalty that revealed where the real gravity in the organization truly lay. Then came Microsoft, publicly offering Altman a new role overnight. It was more than support. It was a message about who held influence in the accelerating race for artificial intelligence. Within days, the board collapsed under pressure. Altman returned as CEO. A new board was installed. The event exposed a truth rarely seen so clearly. In the world of frontier technology, authority can be removed with a vote, but power cannot. Altman speaks about the future with a calm certainty, as if he's already seen the outlines of the next era. To him, artificial general intelligence isn't a distant theory. It's an approaching milestone that will reshape the structure of society. He believes most jobs, as we know them today, will eventually be automated. Not out of malice, but because intelligence, once it becomes abundant, rewrites the economics of labor. In its place, he imagines systems like universal basic income to stabilize a world where productivity comes from machines rather than humans. But he doesn't see AI as a replacement for people. He sees it as a collaborator, a force multiplier that expands what individuals can do when paired with a reasoning system that never tires. And in his view, this shift will rival the invention of electricity, a transition not just in tools, but in the very fabric of civilization. For someone shaping the direction of global technology, Sam Altman's personal net worth remains surprisingly modest. He does not stand among the richest figures in Silicon Valley, at least not by traditional financial measures. Yet his influence extends far beyond what wealth alone can buy. Through OpenAI's partnership with Microsoft, he holds a direct line into one of the world's largest technology ecosystems. Through policy discussions, he advises governments navigating the uncertainty of AI regulation. Through global initiatives, he touches sectors from defense and healthcare to education and national infrastructure. In today's world, power is no longer defined solely by capital. It is defined by access to data, to intelligence, to the systems that will automate tomorrow's industries. And by that measure, Altman stands in a category few billionaires can match. With influence of this scale, criticism is unavoidable. Altman's vision for AI is ambitious, but many argue it moves faster than society can adapt. Researchers warn that powerful models may introduce risks we don't yet understand, from misinformation to autonomous decision-making. Others fear the economic fallout. If machines replace wide categories of work, what happens to the people caught in the transition? Altman proposes solutions like universal basic income, but critics question whether any single organization should wield such influence over global labor markets. Then there's the shift within OpenAI itself. Once a transparent nonprofit, it has become increasingly corporate, increasingly closed, and increasingly powerful, raising questions about whether a mission to benefit humanity can coexist with competitive pressure. Beneath all of this lies a deeper concern. When technology begins to rival human intelligence, who, if anyone, should control its direction? Altman's journey offers more than a biography. It reveals patterns in how influence is built. One lesson is the power of long-term thinking, choosing decades over quarters, systems over trends. This mindset allowed him to see artificial intelligence not as a tool, but as the next industrial foundation. Another lesson lies in what he chooses to control. Rather than chasing viral products, he focuses on infrastructure, the platforms and networks that others must build upon. That strategy creates leverage that compounds over time. He also surrounds himself with people who challenge his assumptions, not those who echo them. In a field defined by complexity, he values thinkers who can stretch the boundaries of what's possible. And perhaps the most important takeaway is this. Understanding how systems operate, economic, technological, or human, matters far more than mastering any single tool. Tools change, systems endure. As artificial intelligence accelerates beyond anything previous generations imagined, one question now follows Sam Altman wherever he goes. Is he the next Steve Jobs, or something far more dangerous? His vision could elevate humanity into a new era of abundance, or push us into challenges we are not yet prepared to solve. The truth is, no one can predict which path will unfold. But what we do know is this: the decisions he makes in the coming years will shape the world our children inherit, the jobs we hold, and the systems that govern society itself. If you want to follow how this story unfolds, stay with the channel, because the age of intelligence is only beginning.